Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 2 in what we call What It Takes Radio. Yes, my name is Stan Houston, and What It Takes Radio is an experiment. That's what it is, an experiment in internet radio in which we try to combine a little bit of insight, sound, imagination, and innovation in a way that will help you discover what it takes, perhaps, to achieve the goals that are important to you, to live an entrepreneurial life, maybe even be fully alive. Hey, thank you for joining us. We started out as an experiment, and we're continuing as an experiment, but we've taken it now to the worldwide level. Some of you are hearing this on iTunes, and we're on 4 or 5 other platforms that are designed to help us and you connect around the world with people who just might have something to say that might be useful and practical, fruitful, and adventuresome just for you. Well, what we do is during the weekend, when you've got a little more time as a busy business person, entrepreneur, career person, we have a little program. It takes about a half hour, usually an interview that goes along with it. And what we do there is we simply ask you to think about something that could be useful to you. We put it in the old Twilight Zone idea of it's just for your thought and consideration. We come together, hopefully, at the intersection, just as they used to say, of insight, imagination, innovation, and a little bit of profound sound. At least, we'd like to hope that occasionally what we say is a bit profound. However, during the week, we do a little what we call 10 minutes of clarity. So this little program is about 10 minutes. And hopefully in that 10 minutes, you'll find something that will be helpful and useful to you. And we begin with episode 2 of 10 minutes of clarity on What It Takes Radio. Where does that come from? 10 minutes of clarity. Well, let me tell you, and we challenge you to start doing this on a regular, perhaps practice it on a daily basis. Now, it goes back to something that I heard a number of years ago when I was doing a lot of really on-site business performance coaching. Right now, of course, most of our work is around the world through the internet and online radio. But I heard a story, and this story fascinated me. I hope it's true. It should be true. It sounds true, but it's good enough to be true because it has a great truth. The story is told, the legend is behold, that the 2 great philosophers of the 18th century in the United States, in the area called Massachusetts, in the northeastern part of the country, Concord, Massachusetts, was a hotbed of intellectual thought, creativity, energy. It just was one of those places where the spirit of creativity, the Spirit of God was there, and things happened. Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau were 2 of the gentlemen who made their ways around the city, around the town, and around Walden Pond. And the story was that whenever they would meet each other, they would say, "Since we last met, what is clear to you now?" And when I heard that, I said, that's one of the keys to what it takes, is to be in relationship, perhaps with a community of people who will hold you and me accountable and perhaps even responsible for the question, since we last met, what is clear to you now? In your thinking, in your praying, in your experimenting, in the work you are doing, in the things that you are creating, what is clear to you now that was not so clear before? And this clarity could be very, very helpful. So we have decided that ever since that particular story came to me, that one of the key questions I've asked clients around the world, in fact, some of them even answer it before I ask them. Since we last talked, since we last consulted, since we last met, what is clear to you now? I even had one guy call up and cancel an appointment. Lost money on the deal because he said, Stan, I was looking forward to our time together, but I knew that one of the first questions you would ask me is, since we last met, what is clear to you now? I sat down. I thought, got a piece of paper, took out a pencil, and you know what? I know what to do. I don't need to talk to you now because something just became clear, and I'll move on that. Thanks a lot. I'll call you back some other time. All the best. That's just fine. What is clear to you now? Another one of my mentors says that I don't look for agreement, but I do look for clarity. And so if we're in debate, if we're in dialogue, perhaps even if we're in conflict, we may not be able to resolve it. We may not be able to agree, but perhaps the positions that come about, we will have a certain amount of clarity as to who we are, where we are, and what we're doing, and what might be important. So, here is my challenge to you on episode 2 of What It Takes Radio, and on our first 10 minutes of clarity. Remember that story. Since we last met, what is clear to you now? Would you ask yourself that question 2 or 3 times a week? Would you literally turn off all the noise in your life and find a place where you can be seen and perhaps thinking and praying and just watching, and hopefully you will have that wonderful moment that something becomes not only clear, but that clarity is important, and something that you can do, perhaps clarity that is even life-changing. You see, on this program, we're not going to do the same old stuff. There are thousands of entrepreneurial programs that you could turn into, and for the most part, they're helpful, and they're not usually hurtful, but it's the same old stuff, SOS. The same cliches, the same jargon, the same things that we've heard many times before, recooked, rehashed, put together, slopped together. But we need to take our level of thinking and consciousness to perhaps a different level. And that will only happen when we take time out to contemplate, to think, to pray, to seek wisdom, and then answer the question for ourselves. What is clear to us now? And then we will also, in our relationships with our clients, our colleagues, our vendors, we're continually asking the question, help me, tell me, in your life, in your business, in the work, in the goals that we're working on together, what is clear to you now? One of my clients simply said this to me, Stan, I'd like your permission. Would you give me just 10 minutes and help me find out what might be clear to me? I need 10 minutes of some thought and conversation. I need 10 minutes for clarity. Hence the name of this particular episode. And we're going to have these 2 or 3 times every week, just 10 minutes on What It Takes Radio. What is clear to you now? 10 minutes of clarity, and we're going to have a variety of different subjects in which I'll simply put them out there and say, is that helpful? Is it useful? It's 10 minutes of clarity for me, and could that be 10 minutes of clarity that's helpful to you? Hey, there we go. That's what we're all about. Would you join us every time you see us come up, usually on a Tuesday, often on a Thursday, and then weekends, we're going into a little greater and bigger exploration. The experiment is something we want you to participate in. Just don't listen, join us. What It Takes Radio is not just radio, it's a conversation, hopefully a connection, maybe eventually a community of people who literally change their world and thereby change a part of the world. That may be what it takes. What It Takes Radio. My name is Stan Houston. Thanks to Rob Casper, the producer behind the glass, who helps make this possible. And thanks to you. And we'll see you again on the next adventure of What It Takes Radio.